Hey everyone, and welcome back. We're doing something a little different today.
Yeah.
We're going to be diving into a world where everyday objects become like tools to ward off negativity,
Oh, love it.
protection spells.
Yeah.
Specifically, we'll be unpacking a YouTube video titled Dark Moon Protection Candle Spellwork by the Witch of Wonderlust.
Cool.
Now, you requested this deep dive because you're really interested in the practice of protection spells. So we're going beyond just the how-to and really going to be exploring the underlying beliefs and practices that make this stuff
Right.
so fascinating.
Yeah, it's like we're peeling back the layers of like a magical onion, uncovering the symbolism and the intentions behind each step.
I love that analogy.
Thanks.
So let's start with the desired outcome here, protection.
Mm-hmm.
In many magical practices, a petition is used to clearly state your intentions.
Yes.
It's essentially a written request to the universe laying out exactly what you want to protect yourself from.
It's like a cosmic contract, But instead of legalese, you're using specific words and symbols to define your desired outcome.
I love that.
Yeah.
Now, the Witch of Wonderlust really emphasizes being super specific
Yes.
in the petition.
Uh-huh.
She talks about writing your full name 3 times,
Okay.
your birthday,
Hot it.
and then creating kind of a protective word fortress around it
Right.
with phrases that detail exactly what you need protection from.
I like that protective word fortress.
Yeah.
It's great.
So this specificity is a key element that we see across many traditions.
Absolutely.
It's not just about a general desire for safety,
Right.
but about pinpointing the exact fears and anxieties you want to address.
Exactly.
Part of me wonders, though, do words themselves really hold that much power?
That is a great question.
Yeah.
It's fascinating, isn't it? Many magical practices are built on the belief that words carry energy, that they can shape reality. I mean, think about the power of affirmations.
Right.
Or even like the impact of negative self-talk.
Totally.
The petition in this context is about channeling that energy into a focused intention.
Yeah, that makes sense. And it's not just vague statements like keep me safe, right?
No.
She's talking about listing very specific concerns like protection from bad luck,
Right.
ill wishes, even negativity from social media.
Oh, wow.
It's almost like a reflection of modern anxieties, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. That's what's so fascinating is how traditional practices evolved to incorporate these contemporary fears.
Yeah.
The core concept of protection remains the same, but the specifics adapt to reflect the anxieties of the time.
Okay, so we've got this super specific petition.
Yes.
But then comes the fun part, the ingredients. We've got the usual suspects.
Gross.
A black candle for absorbing negativity, oils for anointing, and herbs for like added potency. Some of the choices here really surprise me.
I'm intrigued. Which ones caught your attention?
Well, first off, salt. We all know it seasons our food.
Yeah.
But the Witch of Wonderlust uses it to absorb negative energy. And not just any negativity.
Oh.
She specifically mentions soaking up the bad vibes that linger from social media or like difficult conversations.
Oh, interesting.
I definitely feel drained after scrolling through a particularly doom-filled newsfeed. So maybe there's something to this salt idea.
Salt has long been associated with purification and protection in various cultures.
Right.
It's believed to neutralize negativity, creating a barrier against harmful energies. But it's interesting you mentioned the duality of salt. It's also used for preservation, isn't it?
Right. So how does that fit into the concept of protection magic?
Perhaps it speaks to the idea of preserving one's well-being, of maintaining a state of balance and purity in the face of negativity.
Okay, that's a really interesting perspective.
Yeah.
Then there are cloves,
Yes?
described as an aggressive protection herb, actively repelling those negative energies.
They're on the front lines of
Yeah.
your magical defense system.
I like that.
Yeah.
And then there's burdock root, which she mentions is great for warding off negativity and uncrossing hexes. Now, I have to admit, the whole hex thing always seemed a bit out there to me.
The concept of hexes or curses often ties into the belief that negative energy can be directed towards someone intentionally or unintentionally. What's interesting about the inclusion of burdock root is the suggestion that sometimes the source of that negative energy might be ourselves.
Wait, what do you mean?
Well, think about those times when you get stuck in a cycle of self-doubt or negative self-talk.
Yeah.
Is it possible that we inadvertently hex ourselves with those thoughts?
Oh, wow.
And if so, maybe burdock root in this context is acknowledging the need to break free from those self-imposed limitations.
Whoa. That's a powerful thought.
Yeah.
It's like the spell is acknowledging that sometimes our biggest enemy is our own inner critic.
It can be.
So we've got these powerful ingredients, each chosen for a specific purpose, but how do they get activated within the spell?
That's where the concept of charging comes in. The Witch of Wonderlust emphasizes the importance of verbally stating the purpose of each ingredient as you add it to the spell. It's like you're imbuing each element with a specific intention, aligning its energy with your desired outcome.
So it's not just about the physical presence of the salt or the cloves, it's about actively engaging with them, almost like giving them their marching orders.
Precisely. It's a way of consciously directing energy, infusing the spell with your personal willpower. And even if you're skeptical about the magical aspect, there's something to be said about that mindfulness, that focus on what you want to achieve.
I can see how that kind of intention setting could be powerful, even outside of a magical context.
Yeah.
And speaking of intention, we haven't even talked about the timing of this spell yet. The Witch of Wonderlust specifically recommends performing it during the dark moon. Why is that significant?
The dark moon, that period when the moon is not visible from Earth, is often seen as a time of introspection, release and letting go of what no longer serves you. In many magical traditions, it's considered an ideal time for banishing negativity and setting intentions for new beginnings.
So it's like you're clearing out the old, setting up your protective barriers, and then boom, new moon time for fresh starts. It's all about working with the natural flow of energy, right?
Yes, exactly. And this connection to natural cycles is a recurring theme in many magical practices.
Right.
Lunar phases, seasons, solstices, equinoxes. It's about aligning yourself with the rhythms of the cosmos.
Yeah.
Tapping into the ebb and flow of energy that surrounds us.
It's almost like becoming a part of something much bigger than yourself.
Yeah.
Tapping into this ancient wisdom, going through all this. What strikes me is how intertwined the practical and the symbolic elements are. You've got the very specific instructions, the ingredients, the timing. But then there's this whole other layer of belief about energy and intention.
It's that interplay between the tangible and the intangible that makes magical practices so compelling, wouldn't you say? On one hand, you have a recipe, a set of steps to follow. But on the other hand, you have this system of beliefs about the interconnectedness of all things, about the power of the human will to shape reality.
And what's really cool is that even if you don't subscribe to the magical aspect, there's still a lot to take away from this. The focus on intention setting, the symbolism of the ingredients, the connection to nature, it all speaks to a desire for agency, for taking control in a world that can feel very uncertain.
Absolutely. It's about actively engaging with one's environment, both inner and outer, and seeking to create positive change. And speaking of agency, there's one more element we need to discuss. The power of personalization.
Right. The Witch of Wonderlust doesn't just give you a cookie-cutter formula. She encourages you to make it your own, to choose ingredients and symbols that resonate with you personally.
That's a crucial aspect of many magical practices, adapting them to fit your individual needs and beliefs. It's not about blindly following someone else's recipe, but rather about understanding the underlying principles and then applying them in a way that feels authentic to you.
So it's like taking the framework and then adding your own flair, your own unique touch. It's about understanding the why behind each step and then choosing the ingredients and symbols that speak to you on a deeper level.
Precisely. If we connect this to the bigger picture, it's about empowering individuals to take an active role in shaping their reality both within and without.
It's not just about following the script. It's about understanding the language of the spell and then writing your own story. We've covered a lot of ground here, from everyday objects to ancient wisdom to the power of personal intention. It's been quite a journey.
It's a reminder that there's always more to discover, more to learn, more ways to connect with the mysteries of the universe. But before we get too carried away, let's bring it back to the core elements of creating a protection spell.
So for someone like you who's interested in maybe trying this out, what would you say are the essential elements of crafting a protection candle spell based on everything we've learned?
Well, I think the key takeaways here are the specificity of the petition,
Right.
the selection and activation of ingredients with intention, and the consideration of timing, particularly aligning with natural cycles like the dark moon. But perhaps the most important element is the personal touch. It's about blending tradition with your own individual intention.
That's a great point. It's not just about replicating what someone else does. It's about understanding the principles and then adapting them to your own needs and beliefs.
Exactly. And that leads us to a final provocative thought for you to consider.
Okay.
If you were to craft your own protection spell, what ingredients would you choose and why? What personal touches would you add to make it truly your own?
That's such a great question to leave our listener with. It's almost like we're sending you off on your own mini deep dive into the world of protection magic.
Indeed. And remember, this is just the beginning of your exploration. There's a whole universe of magical practices and beliefs out there waiting to be discovered.
Well, on that note, we'll leave you to ponder those possibilities.
Ah.
Until next time, happy exploring.